I was sitting here thinking about finances, thinking about where's my money go? I know where it comes from. I know how much I get. I know how much I have. But where does it go? A lot of people don't even know where their money goes. A lot of people just sit and wonder and they get a paycheck. They work hard. They put in 40, 50, 60 hours a week, depending on, how many jobs they have or how much time they dedicate to, their one job. I know many, many people that actually work 2 full-time jobs. I know a lot of people that work day jobs and night jobs and weekend jobs. They work their holidays. They're always bringing in money, always doing this and doing that. But at the end of the day, it seems like they're not doing any better off than anybody else. I wonder why that is. Could it be that they have an imbalance in their minds and their thoughts about money and finances and assets and liabilities? Could it be that maybe they just don't understand money? I know one person that every day, and you hear this all the time, it's cliche, I guess you could say. Oh, I stopped off and got my, cup of coffee, my specialty cup of coffee, right? I asked one coworker one day, how often do you get that cup of coffee? He said, every day. I said, every work day? He said, no, every day. He gets one every day. I asked him, well, how much does that cost you? At the time, he was getting the tall, large one with the froth on top, the whole deal. And I believe he said it was somewhere around $7.50, right? So also realized that this coworker always either went out to eat for lunch, always go to fast food place, or he would pick up, something like that, fast food or convenience store food, and bring it to work and eat that for lunch. Then one day I asked him, I said, man, I noticed you go out to eat a lot. How often do you go out to eat? He's like, every day. And I said, well, every day for lunch? He says, no. He says, I always stop off, get something to eat. At the fast food restaurant in the morning, it's convenient. And I said, well, I noticed you go out to eat at lunch a lot. Oh yeah, he says, it's convenient, it's easy, right? And I said, what about dinner? He says, nah, he says, we always pick up something for dinner. We never cook at home. And I was asking him, this guy, I was like, every day you get one of these coffee drinks, about $7.50. 3 times a day you go to, convenience store or fast food restaurant place and get food and eat it. And you're spending, what? That guy, I think he said he was spending anywhere between $7 and $10 each time. So it's like between $7 to $10 each meal, breakfast, lunch, dinner. So if you take the say you round it up to 10, that'd be $30 a day, for meals, times your 7 days. He does it on the weekends too. Plus your $7.50 for your cup of coffee that you pick up every day. How much money is that? Well, we sat down and we figured it up, and it was a huge sum of money. He was paying more money on coffee and fast food from convenience stores and restaurants, fast food restaurants, than what he was making a payment on his house for. And he had a small house. It wasn't very big. It was maybe 1,000 square foot house, but it was his house. He had purchased it, right, through the bank. He had a mortgage on it. And when we sat down and we figured that out, he was flabbergasted. He was astounded. He did not realize how much money he was really spending. He was just thinking of the convenience. He was thinking of, the different things that he thought he was doing right in his life. So we started talking about assets, liabilities, different things like that bring you to a certain level of financial independence. And we sat there and we talked, and we were talking about liabilities, and he didn't really realize what a liability was. He thought his house was an asset, his home that he purchased and has a mortgage on. He thought that was an asset. Mostly it's a liability because he doesn't own it outright. He borrowed money from the bank or the mortgage company to purchase that house, and he owes a lot of money back to the bank, and he's paying a lot of interest on that. He's only paid so much down on the what do you call it, the the principal of the loan, which is the actual how much you borrowed, right, is the principal. What you pay back is on top of the principal is interest. But you also pay, with your home, you pay insurance, right? You pay your taxes. So you pay several things. You pay the principal, the interest, the insurance, and the taxes. A lot of people have homeowners association fees to go on top of that. That's a liability. That's not an asset. It only becomes an asset when you actually have the ability to sell it and make money off of it, or the ability to lease it out and have it pay for itself, or maybe even give you extra money on top of that. Then it becomes an asset. Until then, it's a liability. We talked about his car, talked about his wife's car. They both, every 2 years, would get a new car replacement for the two of them. Always. Between the two of them, they had over, I'm pretty sure we figured it up, it was around $1,700 a month car payment. That is not an asset. Cars are not an asset. They are liabilities, especially when you borrow a ton of money, right? It's just like paying for a house. You're paying back that principal that you borrowed. You're paying the interest. You're paying on your car. You pay taxes. You pay upkeep. You pay insurance. You're always constantly putting fuel in it, changing the oil, putting tires in it, windshield wipers, cleaning it. And if you wreck it, then you have to pay your portion that the insurance company ain't gonna pay, right? An automobile is not an asset. It is a liability. So what exactly is an asset? Well, I looked it up online just to get an official, you know what I mean. An asset in financial accounting, an asset is any resource owned or controlled by a business or an economic entity. You as an individual are an economic entity. A lot of people don't know that. You make money, you spend money. That's economics. You are an economic entity. So, an asset is any resource owned or controlled by a business or an economic entity. It is anything that can be used to produce a positive economic value. What I mean by positive economic value is it brings it to you, right? It brings it to you. Assets represent value of ownership that can be converted into cash. If you have a home, and that home, say you just purchased the house, unless you've actually put money down on it and you have equity in the house, and equity means that you actually own that portion. Like if you had to turn around and sell the house, right? You wouldn't take the full amount that you sell the house for and put it in your pocket. No, you would pay the bank or the mortgage company what you owe them. What is left over is what you put in your pocket. That's your asset. So, your automobile. If you buy a brand new automobile, immediately the value falls. The value goes down. It's just the way it is. Mobile homes, they're not an asset, they're a liability. I think everybody knows that. Assets represent value of ownership that can be converted into cash. If I have a gold coin in my pocket, that is an asset. That is cash. I can take that gold coin and I can use it, right? If I have a dollar bill in my pocket, that's an asset. If I go out in the field and pick up a rock that's got diamonds in it, that's an asset. But if I borrow and I owe others, that's a liability. If I put money into something where that money disappears and it never comes back, that's a liability. If you have a home and you can rent it out and they can pay, to be able to help you cover your mortgage, that in a sense is an asset. Maybe you could have them pay a little extra more. That would go in your pocket. That's an asset. Otherwise, it's a total liability. If somebody walks onto your property, trips in a hole, and breaks their leg, you're liable for that. That's a liability. An asset is a useful or valuable thing, regarded as having value and available to meet debts, commitments, or legacies. Where a liability is, in financial accounting, a liability is defined as the future sacrifices of economic benefits that the entity is obliged to make to other entities as a result of past transactions or other past events. A liability is something a person or a company owes, not owns, but owes, usually a sum of money. Liabilities are settled over time through the transfer of economic benefits. I'm going to end the video right here because my nose is getting ready to drip. Sorry about that. Oh.